This chapter explores some possible models that could explain the relationship between anger and aggression. The drive reduction model says that all biological drives, such as eating and reproduction, found in all creatures, have a specific site in the brain and neurological pathways specific to getting to and from that site. Scientists have identified the parts of the brain that become overly active when a person is aggressive. However, they have not proven that the desire to aggress produces a biological drive similar to basic survival drives. No area of the brain monitors the discharge of aggression or triggers a motivation system when aggression gets too low. Aggression, it seems, is not a biological drive. There has also been no research proving that the release of anger or aggression is cathartic, and some research shows that such releases increase the probability of further anger or aggression. Might anger and aggression be an acquired drive, something that's learned? The presence of pain or frustration can lead to anger and aggression. What if a person learns the cues that precede likely pain and aggression, and learn to show anger or aggression in an attempt to dissuade another person from acting it upon them? If a spouse learns that their partner is angry, yelling, and pounding on a table are preludes to being hit, might not the intended victim learn to become angry and aggressive in an attempt to dissuade the anticipated attack? The desire to aggress may be a motive that helps develop a sense of control or accomplishment. Unpleasant stimuli may activate parts of the brain that produce motives seeking to control the environment. Social learning theory tells us that, if successful, such motives and actions are reinforcing. Anger, therefore, can generate a motive to change what's happening around us. The motive is to control, not necessarily to harm another. De Giuseppe and Tafrate's proposed model of a relationship between anger and aggression says that the presence of frustration, unpleasant stimuli, or a perceived attack on our person or things arouses an emotional state that activates two motives simultaneously. The first is the motive to flee to avoid the negative stimulus. The second is the motive to control or eliminate the negative stimulus. Stated simply, anger is a stimulus to control our environment, even by aggression. Learning when and where anger leading to aggression is effective is crucial to its effective display, as is knowing what strength of anger to display. Just as experiences in tasting wines and music tells us what we like, people can develop a taste for when and where to allow anger to motivate aggression. Thankfully, most humans have something called empathy that can regulate harming others. The more empathy a person has, the less likely they are to inflict harm on others. Anger that leads to aggression may also have survival value. Anger that urges aggression to repel attackers is of obvious value, but anger can also lead to aggression against others for the purpose of taking their things that have value to the aggressor, such as food, precious goods, or valuable resources. Such anger and aggression require thought and action, and cannot be said to be instinctual. Neuroscientific studies show us that the frontal cortex of the brain is where anger and aggression control occurs, when it occurs. That part of the brain also guides people to accomplish things that require thought and planning. Anger motivates or generates actions that tend to accomplish some goal, and a goal takes some degree of thought. Anger and aggression, in some cases, are clearly conscious processes. This is in contrast to the amygdala and the associated limbic system in the brain that is more basic and controls the fight, flight, or freeze actions, things that do not usually require thought. De Giuseppe and Tafrate believe that the desire to aggress can have three motivational states: repelling attacks, revenge, and envy. The motive to repel attacks is fairly clear as it enhances survival. Persons with high trait anger may respond aggressively to even perceived attacks that are not real. Persons with anger disorders may behave more aggressively because they haven't learned to adequately distinguish between real and perceived threats. The more options they learn to appropriately address threats, the less likely they are to aggress. The motive to seek revenge is related to seeking fairness or equity after experiencing a perceived harm, while envy strives to gain more of what someone else has, regardless of equity. Revenge is a dangerous motive, often associated with strong aggression. The mind of the aggressor may see revenge as a means of establishing fairness and equity for perceived or real wrong, or it may see it as handing down justice with the goal of making another person suffer in some way. Sometimes revenge goes even further and seeks to make the victim suffer to a greater degree, and such desires for revenge can be insatiable. No degree of suffering satisfies such a desire for revenge. Revenge, in real life, seldom sticks to the biblical belief in an equitable eye for an eye, and often seeks an eye and a half. When convicted offenders who sought revenge are asked about the price they paid for exacting revenge, they often commented that the price was worth it, even though they also report that their post-revenge lives feel less meaningful, less manageable, and less comprehensible. Revenge is well known to the world and has been documented since man could communicate, yet we know relatively little about its relationship to anger and aggression. Envy is the third motive to aggress. Aggression based in envy seeks to take more than one's fair share of the pie. It is greedy and feels little remorse for breaking social and legal rules. Having more stuff may equate in the minds of some with social status or rank. Envious aggressors care nothing for fairness, or that the goods they take by aggression may have been earned. They simply want more, and are willing to aggress to get it. Envy may be closely related to jealousy, but whereas envy focuses on wanting to take what another person already has, jealousy focuses on the possibility that another can take what you currently possess. Family and friends can have an impact on one's desire to aggress. Where those important groups sanction and even aid or participate in aggression, the desire to aggress can increase. Similarly, if family and friends prohibit aggression, it is likely a potential aggressor will develop self-restraint and morals to inhibit aggression. Clearly, aggressive impulses can, in many cases, be controlled. But what controls them? Researchers have proposed three major theories of impulse control. One theory of impulse control says that self-control is a learned skill like any other skill. A second theory says self-control comes from knowing there is a structure that imposes consequences on inappropriate behavior. A third theory says that impulse control is like energy that can be depleted and then restored, much like a muscle that gets weaker the more it is used, and needs to rest before continuing to exert itself. This last theory seems to have significant research to support it. The exertion of self-control takes mental and physical energy that, like a battery, is a limited resource. The more a person uses their energy to control their urges to aggress, the less energy they have to maintain control. As repeated insults, threats, and attacks occur, there's less energy to control the urge to respond aggressively, and a person may give in and lash out. Some people may use the remaining energy or reserves to remove themselves from the situation rather than aggress. However, rest, sleep, and supportive emotional experiences can restore the mental energy and allow for greater self-control, or possibly greater responsive aggression. Thought about differently, this theory may explain why many angry and aggressive actions occur when a person is tired, hungry, or stressed. They simply don't have the energy to restrain their impulses anymore.